Hi, welcome back to Hello to Healing. I'm one of your hosts, Michaela,
And I'm Michelle.
and today we are going to talk about something very personal of my own experience being in India and actually studying for about 7 days, doing a course with a guru in a very holy place in India called Varanasi. And yeah, I'm excited to get started on this journey.
I think this has been a wonderful experience talking to you and very much spiritually, your growth. So I'm just going to ask a few questions about it and we'll be giving the viewers some information. So I know one of the things that you talked to me about was you learned some information about auras. So can you kind of go over what it was that the guru had talked to you about and things you learned about that?
Yeah, so this course, I guess you could say, was one of very open. Like as a guru, he explained like he is a teacher, but he's not gonna necessarily tell you everything. He's going to lead with the thoughts of the questions you have are the answers and the things that you are ready to learn. And that you've been called to his ashram, which means a home for all, to be there to learn from him specifically, and that people go there because they feel this calling to help others heal and to heal themselves. So there was a huge in-depth about chakras, and we talked about auras specifically. And throughout these seven, actually 8 days that I was with him, um, he really touched on starting us with feeling the energy. And I think that's one of the biggest things that when you're starting to learn about energy, it's not about seeing, right? You can't see Wi-Fi, but you know it's there. And so the biggest thing that I really had to let go is this, he called it the psyche, which means like people are very psychic. But what he was saying is that people are very much in their mind and not in their heart space. And so he would have us do these dancing sessions. And it was only me and this other guy that joined the day later than I did doing the course together. So it was just the three of us in his ashram, next to this river and very busy road still. And at the same time, you're really just trying to focus on what he's saying. And as you're feeling the energy, we went more into depth about that and how to feel. And eventually we led to this concept of auras. And it was very interesting because when we started understanding what auras are, is this energy field that exists around the body. And the aura is basically different dimensions that exist around the body itself that hold data of the body, the physical and the like intellectual part of a person. And there's different layers to an aura. But the basics he taught us is that there's an inner and there's an outer aura. So the outer aura is specifically talking about the physical health of the person. And you can imagine he showed us and gave us these folders, and in there there's this picture of a person, and it kind of looks like tentacles almost going out, but there are like lines, like these tentacles but lines going out of the body like light. And when there is a disease or disease within the body, right, there is dis-ease in the frequency that surrounds the body itself, or what you would call the aura, which the aura is a vibration. And if you've ever heard of, there's specific types of cameras that can capture your aura, the color of your aura. And basically, the color of your aura is the over general vibration that the body is vibrating at. And so, whatever vibe your body is vibrating at, the color emulates that. So anyway, he was talking about that when the aura is vibrating, if there is a disease in a specific area of the body, you can feel the aura. And for us, that we were practicing, like using the energy and feeling in our hands, he had us kind of use our hands to feel our own auras. And as we're feeling around our body, the biggest thing that he said is feel through your heart space. Don't think. And so your eyes, what he says is a lot of gurus, monks, things, they do this type of meditation where you're basically getting your brain almost into an alpha state. And so your eyes are not closed all the way, because when your eyes close, your mind starts to think and starts to go within the
Makes
thoughts.
sense.
And he says not to keep your eyes all the way open, because then you're more alert of what's happening around you. So what you want to do is keep the eyes kind of almost like a halfway closed. And you're not really focusing on anything, but you're feeling. And that's where
Mm-hmm.
you want to be when you're feeling the auras. And so you can actually, it's kind of like if you've ever been on, like, put your hand outside of a window, and that kind of pressure, or that kind of push that you feel with wind on your hand is
Mm-hmm.
kind of what it feels like when you're really aware of auras. It's not necessarily that strong. There's a light feeling that you can feel in your hands when you're pushing, kind of feeling the aura itself. And that comes with awareness and practice. But we all have auras. And based off of how big your outer aura is based off of how healthy the physical body is. And so a lot of times, like if people have cancer and stuff like that, it shrinks. It has issues. If there's a lot of illness, it shrinks. So the outer auras, obviously, when you're feeling it, for me, when I would feel and practice on these Indian people that would come to the ashram for a healing session, you could tell that there was definitely like a heat that would be given off in specific parts of the aura itself. And that's where I'd feel that maybe there was some disease in that aura and needed cleansing. Now, the inner aura is more of the intellectual self. So, the emotional state, the intellectual health of that person, like the psyche. And he was saying that when people have cancer as well, that inner aura is almost with inside the body. And so it's, that saying, like the light is going out within someone. It's like that aura, that lightness that's surrounding the body is going within the body, and it's shrinking less and less, because the energy is having to be absorbed inside the body to try and keep itself alive. So
Makes
most people's
sense.
most people's auras, like their inner aura, it depends on how much you are in your mind and you utilize and have this awareness that you've developed, is how big the aura gets. And the more that you practice awareness, this kind of like intellectual self, it grows bigger. So your outer aura is bigger than the inner aura most of the time. For me, mine is almost a little like my inner aura is larger than what would be he would say. But yeah, it's very interesting talking about these
So,
auras.
so your inner aura expands according to your also your spiritual awareness, the awareness of the universe, who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
That inner aura can expand. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Am I getting that
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the outer aura is basically related to your physical body. It's how healthy it is, or like you said, with disease. So you got to experience feeling auras, which really all of us can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Is kind of what the guru is saying. It's getting into the right mental space and going from seeing to feeling, especially with your hands. I imagine you could feel it even standing next to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it
Mm-hmm.
changes in their aura.
Mm-hmm.
So it became an opportunity then to heal once you can understand where there's blockages, right?
Mhm,
Is that
mhm.
okay? And when you were doing a healing, what exactly what went on? Can you give an example?
Well, there's quite a few things he went on about auras specifically, like how to cleanse the aura and how to take
Okay,
care of your
that's
own aura.
important.
Um, but I do want to touch that we actually feel each other's auras and we don't actually know it. So when you're in the
I would think
presence
that.
of someone, right? When you're in the presence of someone that might be emotionally ill, they're having a terrible mood or something like that, when you're in close contact with that person, you might not even touch them, but you can feel something's wrong without even talking to them. And so you are stepping into that person's aura itself or their energy field that is literally being emitted from the body. And it was amazing to hear as the guru, he had us test our family members from a distance and people that were related by blood and people that were more friends or whatever you want to check about their auras. And he said, if they would be considered good people or bad people, which in that case, bad people is more of a negative energy, not necessarily a bad person, but have a more negatively oriented aura and energy from karmic reasons. So it was beautiful experience feeling the family, and he made it seem, as I would explain to him, like I would say, my dad, my brother, like my whole family, he would ask me just for their name and he would double check what I was feeling, the size of each person's aura. And it was interesting to see that as we were feeling our auras of our family members, he was feeling, and the distance of his hands that were matching mine were pretty much the same. And so I knew that I wasn't, making something up, that he was also feeling it. And the one thing that I was just astounded by is how he was able to tap into a person instantly, not knowing them. And it was almost like looking at someone's personal fingerprint. Your aura holds so much information that if we are able to tap into this energetic field that everyone has, you can feel people's intentions. And this ability to feel other people's auras and to actually help them, right? is It's a beautiful healing experience that we all can have by being able to tap into each other and love each other on a deeper, profound level, because we're not functioning in the psyche, we'll be functioning in the heart center. And that's the shift that's going to be happening, is that the more we become aware and conscious, we will be able to tap into each other's energy fields and not have to speak, but to feel each other's energies. And it will be a completely different
Pretty
life.
pretty amazing. You think about that, that there's the key to change our planet,
Mm-hmm,
most definitely. So that's amazing. And what a shift. Uh,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Again, it's coming from the place of love, but it also tells you, we're kind of all one with this universal energy. You don't have to be present. You can be at a distance, but you can connect into it and
mm-hmm,
understand, experience kind of where that person's at.
mm-hmm,
That's
mm-hmm,
amazing.
mm-hmm.
Pretty enlightening. Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to share my experience of having someone feel my aura for the first time and having just awareness that I was sitting in the ashram, and this other guy that was, doing this course with me, he was feeling my inner aura. And he was it felt like someone was kind of pushing something in that was bigger than it was that he was pushing. So he was like shoving something inward. And he didn't touch me or anything, and my eyes were closed, and he was more in the back part. so I could physically see him, but it felt like someone just shoved all this energy into my body, and I physically moved away from him. And the guru laughed because he told the guy, like, "You're way too far into her aura. Like, you need to back up." Because to me, it felt like an invasion of my own personal,
There's your
like,
personal space.
yeah, it was my energetic space, and in that moment, I really felt my aura, like, this present, and I understand that, this personal space that, a lot of these societies and cultures might not necessarily have, especially, like, as I travel in Asia and there's so many people, especially in India, personal space is a luxury, right? And so when you're around people and everyone's auras and energies are together, you can feel exhausted. When you're so
Oh,
close
yeah.
together. So that explains when you go to a mall and something or a crowd or a concert, and after you might feel drained. It's because imagine all these energies are together, and if someone else's energy or their aura is having issues or disease or whatever, when your auras are touching, there is constantly an exchange of energies. And so someone that is maybe on a more negative oriented aura and energy karmically, there's an exchange going on with yours. And so you're constantly, as I learned through this experience with this guru, I realized how essential it is to cleanse and take care of your inner and aura, outer aura, and your energy itself.
So, how did he suggest for us? And I completely agree with that. Especially people that are involved with energy healing, you really have to make sure that you are taking care of your own energetic field, your aura, that kind of thing. So, how did he suggest that you do that?
Well, so the first thing is well, you first have to feel this energy within the hands and
Right.
within the body. And so that comes with the sense of feeling from the heart center and the energy flowing in your body. For example, we feel this when we work out. You can feel this like more energy flowing through the body. It's pulsating, right? When you're doing
Right.
a lot of movement, that's energy. And so when you're moving your hands, for example, what he would do every time when we go into a session together, he'd make us rub our hands together to create like this friction, which is actually activating, he said, like electrons and protons, and like it's
Mm-hmm.
activating the cells around the hands. And there's two major chakras within the palms of your hands, and then every fingertip also has chakras, and chakras are just energy centers within the body. And so when you rub your hands about 20, 25 times together, and then you just rub the tip of your fingerprint or your fingers, and then you start to kind of push the hands, and you're almost feeding the energy. And like I said, the eyelids need to be semi closed, and you're just feeling that energy pushing and moving through the hands, and don't force it. And that's the one thing he said is do not think of it, just feel it, feel what you're doing. That was one of the biggest things. Now, when cleansing, right, you have this emotional or you feel this connection in your hands already. And we have practiced this for hours, for at least 4 days in a row. We practice feeling the energy moving through our body, what we're doing specifically. And he taught us about Reiki. And cleansing is you have to feel the aura, and it's all about feeling. When you're feeling that maybe there's a sense of heat, it could feel different for everybody. You can get an instant thought of where something might be, like an instinct, right? Or intuition of where in the aura itself there might be some complications or disease in the aura. And from that point, so he said, 40 swipes, you're basically going through every single chakra, the 7 main chakras in the body, and you're feeling the front of your aura and swiping your hand. Now, the biggest thing is when you're cleansing this energy, you want to have like a bowl or something to put water and salt inside of it. And you put it in front of you. And you're basically swiping this negative energy, because that's the negative energy is what's creating this disease, maybe headaches, whatever you're physically feeling. The aura and its energy is what's holding it. So you're swiping that energy wherever you feel it in that shot or in the aura into that bowl with salt. And the salt is basically capturing it and neutralizing the energy and holding it. Everything is based off an intention, and it's a beautiful experience when you realize how much your intention will affect the results. If you believe, it's going to work. But if you don't, it's not going to work, because everything is based off of your belief in something working out or not. So as you swipe, he said about 40 times in the front, 40 times on the side. And then also there's chakras in the back that are different than the
Right.
front. So you're also going to imagine the back of your spine in front of you, and you're feeling the aura and then swiping it 40 times as well. And then that's the outer aura, and do the exact same thing for the inner aura. And to not go so depth, but there are specific chakras after, if you feel like need to be more energy sent directly to that chakra. There are specific chakras you do send energy to, and other ones you don't want to activate too much energy, because then it can cause a little bit problems in the body. Like in the liver, there's also a chakra in the front and in the back area. And so if you send a lot of energy into that center, that liver is basically sending energy to every single chakra. And if it has too much energy, it can overload it and cause a little bit of issues. So yeah, it's
Lots of information, but what it comes down to is, you do need to take time to cleanse yourself, right? I mean, just
yeah,
like
he
we
said
take
about
a
twice a week.
shower. Yeah, exactly. That you should go through and make sure that your energy is centered appropriately, and think about how much healing can be done if this was just something we do, like we take a shower to physically take care of ourselves on the outside. We've got things showing up in our auras that we also need to focus on. So, and it's interesting, the salt, because that is has to do with charges. Just like I've been told numerous times, have salt lamps in your rooms.
Mm-hmm.
There's your reason. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it has to do with all these charges that we need to change into a positive flow. So that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool.
He also
Absolutely.
said for um he said to take electrolytes every single day. It's good for your
Okay.
body. And I can't tell you the amount of bananas I ate being at his ashram. Every single day, he always gave us bananas because it helps basically activating your energy right away. And it gives you a source of energy. So bananas
Interesting.
are one of the biggest things too to eat.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting. Yeah.
and a
I
monkey
didn't
every
I didn't
day.
know that. Well,
Monkey
yeah,
every
maybe
day
monkey.
would always come to the ashram waiting for him to get a banana.
Give a
So,
banana. That's interesting. Well, in response to energy and talking about animals and other things, energy also flows to them, so or from them. So that's another whole thing. I'm sure that you've learned through him of everything on the planet has a flow to it. So uh,
mhm.
I'm sure that was part of it as well. So.
Yeah, animals. The biggest thing he said that animals are very attuned to
Mhm.
the positive oriented energies. And so they gravitate towards people that have that energy. And they also, he said children too. Every day, kids would always knock on his door trying to come in and just talk to him. And he said he knows more about the family drama and the things that they do than the parents could ever imagine. Those kids so
Yeah,
attracted
because the
to him.
kids that also tells you something about children and the innocence of it. It's
Yeah.
yeah, we get kind of clouded as we grow older, right? So
Hmm.
yeah.
Animals, too, as he explained, just like kids, and as we grow up to adults, from kids, is that we are like sponges, and animals, when they are in your life as your pet, and if you're experiencing a traumatic experience, your animal will actually absorb that energy depending on how much, right, they're attached to you and how much they deeply love you. They can actually absorb that energy from you. And it's almost like a cleansing for you, but it can make them sick, which can cause disease in their own auras too. And so it's always so important to realize that, people, when you see people walking with their dog, you think, wow, that dog is so much like the owner. But the truth is how can a dog ever look like the owner? It's not the way it looks, it's the energy that that dog has surrounding
Right.
it. That's what
Exactly.
we're talking about. But we have an unconscious awareness of what we actually feel on this deeper level, right? We know
Absolutely.
that's something we can all say, like,
Absolutely.
okay, yeah, that dog is like the owner. But what is it actually? It's the energy, it's the fingerprint, it's the aura that surrounds that animal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what is one thing that he talked about with karma that would be important for us to know?
There's a lot to talk about karma, but to just give a general understanding about it is that karma is pretty much, from my understanding, is the law of attraction. So what
Yep.
you put out is what you get back. And so there's this story he was talking about is that there's these two oxes and they were working with this farmer, and the one ox told the other ox, I'm going to die tomorrow. And the ox said, why? And he said, well, my time is up. I've served the farmer all, this part of my life, and now the karma is done. And so it's time for me to go. And the other ox says, well, I have 3 more months because in another life I did this, this, and this for the farmer. So everything is returned in some ways that we can't even possibly understand in our experience. Why people experience such negative experiences that are good people in this life, and why, you feel like God or the universe is coming down on you. For example, for me, I was talking to my husband the other day. He put a piece of gum on the place that where he should have thrown it away. And I said, you know what? I learned my lesson. As a kid, I did that a few times. And every single time I did that, I kid you not, 15 minutes later, I'd be stepping in someone's gum on the street. So karma really
You
does
got a
come
bad gum
around.
karma.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
But it's the awareness, if you have
Right.
understanding about your actions. And that's the biggest thing about karma, is that some people are unconsciously aware of the actions they do. And so the karma they receive is not necessarily as much energy back to their karma, as negative as it is for someone that is well aware of the actions they're taking, but they still choose to do that bad action. The karma is the energy that is received back to that person based off of how much awareness you have of that action you're taking that is not good or is good. You will receive that back. Now, in India, one thing, when I asked him how spiritual Indian people are, he said, to a certain extent, not really. People understand, just like on a global scale, as he's traveled the world and learned, 7 different religions and as also a background as a doctor, he can tell you that people have a not a great understanding of what spirituality is. It's not about the
Hmm.
clothes you wear or the how many times you pray a day or the things that you say or anything like that. It's this desire to understand the self and this desire to be better and to expand your awareness and unconscious awareness of the actions you take to reach this sense of enlightenment. And enlightenment means that your karma is basically becoming balanced because you have a better understanding that the actions you take and what you do and say and who you help is going to add up. But when you understand that you are also the creator of this universe, this concept of desire begins to dissipate because you realize that you've always had everything you could possibly need and that you no longer want to do anything and want to give anything. Life becomes neutral. And that's why a lot of these extremely enlightened beings, they go off to be by themselves is because they're done. They understand. And they're always just wanting to just connect to this higher source of intelligence for more downloads of understanding, because that's the purpose of their existence, to understand more in this human form.
Until they're asked to teach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's part of that as well. So yeah, there is a huge part to that. So it sounds like you have learned a lot, a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
Is there one thing that really stands out to you that was um, a big thing for you, or that you would like to tell the viewers that about
Yeah,
one
of
particular
course.
thing?
I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is to surrender. And surrendering to me is just stop trying to force things to work out, right? Everything has its own divine timing. And what you're experiencing, stop trying to push things to happen. That's not how life works, right? Like if you look at a tree that's growing, it doesn't have this specific pattern of roots that grow down a specific way. It surrenders to the way that nature provides for itself, the nutrients, the water, and it grows the way that it's supposed to, not because it
Right,
has to, right? And so
right,
just let go and allow yourself to be, just be you. Stop trying to fit into this box of what this society has created for us to be, do, and what to have and what not to do, right? Be who you are and allow yourself to grow the way that you're supposed to, because when you tap into that version of you and a surrender to what your true abilities and what you can be to serve yourself, you are essentially feeding your soul, and that desire for more becomes a desire for awareness and understanding and love for
absolutely,
your neighbor. And
absolutely.
that's
And you
really
and
neat.
you learn you're here for your life is to be joyful.
And
That's
share.
it's it. Mhm, absolutely. So very, very, very enlightening for me. I'm glad you had this opportunity. It certainly is a great thing to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you're
Yeah.
going to have a few more of those in India for
Oh
certain.
yeah.
You will
More
you
to
will
come.
take that opportunity. So
Hmm.
thank you so much for sharing with us. Um,
Yeah, of
it's
course.
been great. So
Well, I'm really glad I got to share this, and I think that there's going to be a few more sessions or podcasts that we can talk more in depth about some of these other things that the guru spoke about. But we would like to invite you to also check out our website, powerwithinwellness.com. We have some great offerings with using the harmonic egg as well as doing some energetic emotion code sessions. And we love to see you in person or do distance sessions. So please contact us and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks, guys. See you next
Thank
time.
you.
Bye.